Hello everyone. If you're someone who has heard about SSO and want to know how it works or why is it so widely used in enterprises, you're in the right place. In this video, we'll break down what SAML is, how it is used to achieve single sign-on, and walk through typical SAML login flows. Let us start with the basic. Single sign-on or SSO is user authentication concept that allows a person to log in once and gain access to multiple independent application or system without having to log in again for each one. Imagine logging into your company's portal in the morning and automatically being able to access your email, internal wikis, CRM tools, and even your Zoom account, all without having to log in to them individually. It greatly improves user experience, reduces the number of passwords people have to remember, and helps organization manage access more securely. Let us see what SAML exactly is. SAML stands for Security Assertion Markup Language. It is an XML-based protocol that allows different systems to share identity and authentication data securely. Let's look at the main component involved in SAML SSO. User. That's the end user trying to access an application. Identity provider, the system that holds your identity and handles the login process. Some of the examples would be Ping Identity, Auth0, Azure, Okta. Service provider, the app or website you want to use. Some examples are Salesforce, ServiceNow, Snowflake. These three work together using a SAML protocol to authenticate you and allow access without you needing to log in repeatedly. Before we get into how SAML works, it's important to understand the trust relationship between the service provider and the identity provider. The trust is established through exchange of metadata between the SP and the IDP. The data which is shared are from IDP to SP. The entity ID. This is the unique identifier for the IDP. SSO endpoint URL. Endpoint where the SP redirects users for authentication. X.509 certificate. Public key used to verify digital signature from the IDP. Binding method supported. Example, HTTP redirect, HTTP post. From service provider to identity provider. Entity ID. Unique identifier for the SP. Assertion consumer service URL, also known as ACS URL. Endpoints where the IDP sends the authentication response, also known as SAML Assertions. X509 certificate. This is optional but recommended and is used to encrypt assertion or for mutual signing. Supported bindings. This is the way how SP expects to receive the responses. Now let's look at the step-by-step SAML flows. Step 1. SAML request. When the user tries to access the SP using the browser, service provider checks if the user is already authenticated. If not, it creates a SAML request, which is nothing but a XML message asking the identity provider to authenticate the user. The SAML request includes ID, a unique ID and timestamp, issuer, who is sending the request, name ID policy, what kind of user identifier it wants. The request is often sent as redirect or post to the IDP. This is the second time we are hearing about redirect and post. What actually are these? They are request bindings which specifically refers to methods used to send SAML authentication requests, also known as the authent request from the SP to the IDP. In HTTP redirect binding method, the SAML request is URL encoded and then base 64 encoded and is included as a query parameter in the GET request. As you can see, the SAML request is appended in the URL. This is the URL to which the user gets redirected to. In HTTP post binding, the SAML request is base 64 encoded and included in a hidden form field, which is then submitted via post. In this binding, the SP creates a form. The browser automatically sends this form using JavaScript or user click. Step 2. Once the IDP receives the request, it checks if the user already has a session. If no session is present, the IDP challenges the user to authenticate, like username and password, and optionally MFA if configured. Step 3. Once the user is authenticated, the identity provider creates a SAML response, which is another XML message that includes status of authentication, a digital signature to prove it came from the IDP, a SAML assertion which contains the user identity and attribute like email, roles, or groups. Attribute statement, bundle of user metadata which is passed from the IDP to the SP. The name ID elements, which is the user identifier passed back to the service provider. The user is then redirected with the SAML response to the configured Assertion consumer service, the ACS URL. Step 4. The service provider receives the SAML response, validates the signature, extracts the user identity, and initiates the user's session, providing access to the resource. This is a typical SAML flow where a user tries to access the app first. In other words, the flow is initiated from the SP. Hence, this is called as SP initiated flow. There's another way single sign-on works in the enterprise environments. This is called IDP initiated flow. After the user logs into the identity provider, they click on a tile or a link to the service provider's configured. The IDP immediately generates a SAML response without waiting for a request from the SP. That response is posted to the ACS endpoint of the service provider. The service provider validates the response and logs the user in. That's a wrap up on SAML and single sign-on basics. Some major benefits of using SAML SSO are fewer passwords to remember, improved security as passwords are never shared with third-party applications, centralized access control, better user experience. We looked at how SSO works, broke down the SAML login flow, and talked about why it's such a game changer in the enterprise security and user experience. Quick side note, this is actually my first YouTube video. I have been wanting to create contents like this for a while and finally decided to give it a go. If you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Was this helpful? Did it make sense? What should I cover next? If you enjoyed it, feel free to like the video, subscribe, or drop in a comment. It really helps and means a lot. See you in the next one. Bye.